Did you know that October is National Women's Small Business Month? The entire month of October, we'll be bringing you episodes that celebrate the outstanding progress female entrepreneurs and leaders have made in our community. I can't wait to share each and every one of these women with you and their unique stories of how they're giving back and making a difference through the businesses they've worked so hard to build. Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small town cowgirl with southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best. Cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress. But she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and western life may get along the way. With October being recognized as National Women's Small Business Month, I wanted to take the opportunity to answer a question I receive quite frequently. People often ask me, Dakota, how did you land your career with Ariat International? Now, some of you may be thinking, but you're a sales rep for a corporate company. What does that have to do with small business? And yes, I am a sales rep for a corporate company, but my job day to day is to help small business owners, many of which are women, manage their business in a way that provides them the growth and revenue to reach their unique goals. Y'all, that's pretty darn cool getting to be a part of that just by selling jeans and boots. So back to the question, how did I land my career with Ariat? While it has taken years of experience in refining a skill set as well as networking with people from all walks of life to get to where I'm at today, the short answer is it all started back in 2010 when I had the opportunity to serve as Miss Rodeo USA. I spent an entire year promoting the sport of rodeo as well as its sponsors across the United States and Canada. During that time, I was presented with incredible opportunities to put myself in proximity with smart, savvy, and successful individuals in the Western industry. From stock contractors to corporate sponsors, local business owners, and everything in between in communities across the country, I walked away from that 1 year as Miss Rodeo USA with a skill set and connections that I continue to use day in and day out in business. That skill set has helped me define what my personal success in the arena of life looks like. And fun fact, I actually met my very first manager at Ariat 3 years prior to being a full-time employee there. We got to know each other while working on a sponsorship project together while I was Miss Rodeo USA. That's networking at its finest right there, y'all, and what a gift it has been to my life. The Miss Rodeo USA Association is near and dear to my heart. I believe in their mission, and I'd love for you to check them out at www.missrodeousa.com. That's www.missrodeousa.com. You can also connect with Miss Rodeo USA on Instagram and Facebook. All right, let's dive into this week's episode with an incredibly dynamic entrepreneur, Laura Benson. Y'all, on today's episode, we have Laura Benson of South Dakota. She's an entrepreneur that loves to start businesses and scale them, encourage others to pursue their dreams along the way, while also sharing hers and her family's farm lifestyle. She's just a wealth of knowledge, a good soul, something that will brighten your feed on Instagram or Facebook. And many of you listening are familiar with her being the owner of Filly Flair, an online boutique. Laura, I'm just looking forward to what all is going to come through this conversation. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Dakota. I'm so honored to be here. I'm excited. Yes. Well, could we kick it off, Laura, with you kind of giving us a little more information about yourself and kind of where you're at currently right now? I mean, you're now a mama of three. So congratulations on y'all's new little girl. And what's life look like right now?
Thank thank you. Yeah, life right now is kind of in transition, when you adjust and bring another child into the world, it is the biggest blessing, but there are certainly transitions that come with that. So it's been a pretty awesome summer. I'm the slowest in it professionally that I've ever been in my life. It's the first time I've really taken kind of a step back to just breathe and really just be my number one focus, my children, which sounds probably sad, but not that they haven't always been, but 100% of my time, I should rephrase that. So it's been really fun to do that with a newborn, and my other children are just turned 7 this summer and 5. So yeah, right now I'm just kind of in a transition of have been in that, and now just our youngest Cadence, she is 2.5 months old. So I'm just gearing back up and kind of getting into the swing of things of work, and all of the things that go with that I love to do.
I love how you said that because I feel like so many of the women listening to this can relate. The moms, I'm on maternity leave right now as we're recording this, and it is a transition point. But whenever you can really, pour that time into your family, like you said, 100%, it's a blessing, and it's just different than what it's like when you're running a business day to day. Congratulations to you. And so, Laura, while most of us do know you through Filly Flair, you have started multiple businesses, and I would love to hear just kind of where that entrepreneur spirit came from, grassroots, kind of from your childhood, and then what really catapulted you into, starting your boutique business.
Yeah. So I grew up on a dairy farm. My parents moved there when I was 4. I don't really remember. They were always in agriculture. And we moved to the dairy that we lived at my entire life when I was 4. And we were very poor. And we didn't know better. We loved our life growing up, but we worked like I feel like now people would maybe consider that child labor. But we loved it. We were with our parents all the time. I had 3 older siblings. I was the youngest by 6 years, so I was the baby. And but we worked. I mean, when I was 8, I was taught to drive a skid loader. When I was 9, I was probably caring for 50 to 100 calves, solely probably my responsibility. Like my mom would come with us and kind of oversee, but she would be doing other stuff. It was kind of a survival, and we didn't know anything else. We loved our life. And I knew when I went to school that other kids did sports and that kind of stuff and we didn't, but I don't know, it was just kind of how we were raised. And when you're raised on a dairy farm, as most of you know, the work never stops. So it's a constant. Before school, we did chores. After school, we did chores. And that was always the priority. We had to take care of our animals before everything else. Right or wrong, my parents did the best they could. And that involved us doing a lot of chores with them, and it was awesome. Looking back, I wouldn't trade it for the world. But it definitely instilled an incredible work ethic in me that showed me that you can look at work as something you have to do, or you can find something that you love to do and build something. And it's not work, it's part of your lifestyle. One of my biggest goals is I want to transition and teach that to my children, because it's lacking nowadays, in my opinion. um, and I'm not saying you should wear hustle mentality like a badge of honor, but I'm saying, I'm proud of the work ethic that I have, and I know what it takes to get something done. And I want my children to be able to do that as well. So, um, one of the biggest questions, I'm kind of going off topic, but one of the biggest questions I get is how you balance children and work. And I don't think I think that's like a magical unicorn. I don't think that exists. I think you have to live in seasons. So, there was a season when we were scaling my business, we were building a new warehouse, and I mean, my time with my children was less than I wish it would have been. But it has also gotten me to this point where now I have the ability to spend a lot more time with my children. And I hope I'll be able to teach them some of the things that I learned. So I think you have seasons of life versus just trying to smash it all together. That's not possible. But that being said, I think from an early age, our parents taught us a really hard work ethic. And probably when I was a teenager. I think just seeing my parents struggle, and that was probably their biggest fight in marriage was money. And I just was a very stubborn prideful, I never need a man kind of woman when I was younger. And I don't feel that way anymore. I definitely need my husband. But I just kind of had this vow in my head of like, I'm going to make enough money when I grow up that I don't ever have to have a man. Probably not a great mentality, and I think it stemmed more from, I don't want to struggle like this in my, like, I saw it in how it affected my mom and the stress and the burden of it. And I just knew like I wanted the financial freedom. I don't live very extravagantly. I don't care about fancy things really. I just wanted to have financial freedom. I think that was probably instilled in me without them realizing it. And then early on, my dad is an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur before it was cool, to be honest. I didn't know what it was, at the time, but looking back, I always had crazy ideas in my head of what can I try and do this and try and, even when I was younger. So that was always there. It still is. I don't think you can get rid of it when you're wired that way. It's a blessing and a curse sometimes because it leads you down, shiny syndrome path, whatever you want to call it. But I'm learning as I get older to kind of, think on things before I just act.
It's so refreshing to hear you just, say that there's seasons and that, trying to balance work life and kids, it's like a magical unicorn and it doesn't really exist. And because sometimes I feel like so many of us are striving and trying to wear that badge of honor, the hustle badge of honor, like you said, when that's it's not sustainable. And it really just can kind of set you up to feel defeated. Yeah, just can relate to so many things that you just said there. And just thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And I think, so when I had my first daughter, I took her to work with me at the warehouse the first year of her life. All my children have been with me pretty much the first year. And that's something I'm proud of, like that I've been able, but they're babies, you just kind of wear them, they take naps. Once she started walking though, I really got to this dilemma of like, I couldn't just take her to the warehouse. She was like running over to people's desks. She was causing a lot of like chaos, and and then I would like, okay, well, I'll work from home more with her. And then she just reached an age where I needed to be more involved, like very presently. And it kind of dawned on me one day of like, I'm doing neither well. So I'm trying to have my daughter with me all the time. I'm trying to work all the time. And I'm, for lack of better words, half-assing both. And so when I decided to get some help, and I think I first hired a nanny and then I ended up putting her in daycare, it really allowed me to really focus on one thing at a time, get that done, and then be able to go back to my kids. It took me many years to learn to put the phone and the computer down. And I struggled with it. And now I'm like, if I could leave my phone in a different state for a week, I'd be happy. It's funny how that's changed.
It's so interesting that you say that because I want to go back real quick before we jump into Filly Flair and how you run this. I mean, it's social media and but the want and need to be able to put your phone down at the same time and how you make all that happen. But we all love a good love story, Laura. So how did you meet your husband and transition from that point of like, hey, I don't need a man, I'm going to do this, to where you are today?
Oh gosh. My husband he's an incredible man. So my husband is 6 years older than I am. We kind of grew up in the same neighborhood, ran with kind of some of the same crowds. But clearly I was a wild 18-year-old, and we met and we honestly became friends for a while, because our parents farmed very close together. So there was, probably a year where we would talk on the phone, like when we were in the fields, because I farmed with my family for a few years after I graduated. And we were just friends. He was older. I don't know if he was really interested. I don't know if I was. We just were in different places, but we loved talking farm. And so that's kind of how that started. I was definitely, he didn't want to run around and be wild and go to parties like I did. So yeah, we ended up dating, and then we actually ended up splitting up for probably about a year because I was still in that, I hadn't turned 21 yet. I was younger and he didn't want to live that way,
Yeah.
And so I think it was about a year, and I went on maybe a couple other dates, and I was like, wow, he's actually a really good person. Like, maybe I'm being a little stubborn and hard-headed, and this is not the type of, he's a old school chivalry, a real man. And there, even when I was dating, 12, 14 years ago, that was hard to find. And I learned my lesson really quick. So it took us a little time to get back together. And then we dated a few years, and he is complete. And then we got married in 2012. And when we got married, Filly Flair had started for probably, well, I'd started it in 2010, but it was very much a sideline thing. I was just trying to make some extra money to go to rodeos. I love to barrel race. So I just did jackpots and stuff. And when we got engaged we were engaged almost a year, I shut it down. It was just too much. I was working full time at the dairy with my family. I managed that. I ran it. I preg checked cows. We did all the things. We worked in the field. So it was like 12 hours a day. It was legitimate. I was working with my family farm. And then to try and come home and like ship out orders in my basement till 1 a.m. and plan a wedding and work on getting ready to move, it was just too much. So I actually shut Filly Flair down for like a year while we got married. And it was just a little sideline gig. He definitely didn't marry me because I had anything. So, which is comforting, and so then after we got married, I really wanted to pursue it and say, okay, if I really need to try this, if I think this has potential to support us, and see what that looks like. And so he has been an instrumental part of my success, not in the sense that we are partners necessarily in Filly Flair in the business day-to-day operations, but I've never met a man that has supported me, or just been in the background, and not in the background, but just came home, let me listen, let me get things off my chest, talk about my ideas, and always supported me. It was never like, I think you should do this. It was, it's your business and I want you to be happy, no matter what it was. I mean, we had 2016, I really struggled. I didn't know if we were going to make it. And he was like, I thought he was going to be mad. And he was like, well, you can say it was a hell of a run, So
Mhm.
I think it's interesting looking back, that I 100% would not be where I am had he not just let me run. If he had, I would have doubted myself had he doubted me.
Oh, wow. There's nothing like having somebody in your corner and knowing they're going to be in your corner, even when, it hits the fan. Like that's when you need them the most.
100%. And that is his personality. He is the most steadfast, just solid rock.
I really like how you said, he's there. I mean, very much your partner, but not necessarily a partner in that business, because he, day to day, he's handling all of your farm stuff, correct?
Yeah, he is very busy. They're working all of our calves right now, today, actually. So yeah, he's very busy. We have a cow calf operation. We finish out our own pairs, or we have pairs, and we finish out our own fats, and we farm corn and hay and beans as well. So
yeah, you just got a little bit going on.
Yeah, just a little bit. And this is the first summer he finally has a neighbor kid that just graduated high school helping him. Otherwise, he's pretty much been a one-man show. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's very busy.
Yeah, well, you seem very much a wonderful match as far as the hard work, because yeah, you know what it takes to get the job done. And I want to come back to feeding out your fats and talk more about Benson Beef Company before we're done today. But kind of back on Filly Flair, you mentioned 2016 was one of those low points. It was a challenging year, and you weren't really sure if you were going to be done, or if you're going to be able to bounce back. So can you share a little bit more of that, point with us, and then what it's looked like these next 5 years? Because when it comes to names in the boutique world, I don't know anybody that doesn't know Filly Flair. So
thank you. It's very weird to even hear you say that still. So thank you for that. Yeah, I wouldn't be honestly the person I am with the humility I have had I not gone through 2016. It's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. God knows what he's doing, and he works in very mysterious ways. So backing up a step, 2012, after we got married that November, I kind of relaunched Filly Flair, and I thought, all right, I'm really going to do this. I'm going to, see where I can take it. And it was a very steady, rapid growth. Most of it was organic. I never ran ads. In the early years, we just fed the snowball that social media was, and it was nonstop. And we grew. And then I started hiring on staff. I brought in an ad agency, and I didn't know didn't know what not having constant year over year 100, 200, 300% growth was like. I didn't know that wasn't possible. Do you know what I mean? It was the early age of social media. No one knew they were going to come in and like change an algorithm.
Right.
That wasn't a word at the time. It was all organic and just kind of free. It was free. And so I was very naive. I was young and it was easy. And I thought I was special, but I wasn't. It was just easy. So 2016 came, and we had, in 2015, I had hired an ad agency, and they spent a ton of money. We spent a ton of money on ads, had huge sales, had to bring in tons of staff to ship everything. And at the end of the year, realized between paying them and ads and staff, and we were near as nowhere as productive, and I had less profit. And it was a very big learning lesson. It was like, whoa, what just happened? It just kind of knocked me on my feet, under my feet a little, because I was like, okay, gross sales doesn't mean anything. That's what that year taught me. And so I'm a lean, like, I want to know what the profit's really going to be. So then we got rid of them, and it wasn't their fault. It was just a snowball effect. And so we cut the ad agency. 2016 started, and anyone in the boutique world know it was a tough year for pretty much everyone. Facebook came out with a ton of updates, changes to the algorithm, that everything that worked, all the audience that we had, no longer worked. And so our sales tanked, and I had brought in a photographer. We just had all these things that I was very hands off. It was also the year that my dad found out he had cancer and became paralyzed. And so there was just a lot of personal things. And I was also pregnant with my second child. And I was a lot more hands off. I kind of got complacent and thought my business could just coast. And that doesn't happen. There's not such a thing as, businesses don't coast. You're either growing and changing and evolving, or you're going backwards. That's the reality of any business. So I had my child, had to let go a ton of staff. Boy, is that like a learning lesson in humility, when you have to do that because you don't have enough sales to pay people. And that summer I kind of had to really dig in. And one day I was just out on my gravel road, running. And I said to God, I said, okay, I'm going to give this everything I have. And if it doesn't work, I will know that I gave it 110%. And this was not the plan for my life. And if that's your path, then I'm going to be okay with that. I'm surrendering this to you. And I will go in 110% to try and say that I used all of my ability, all of the talents you gave me to make this work. And if that doesn't happen, then I know this is not the course you want for my life. So that's what I did. And probably within a year, we turned around pretty quick. And then I would say by 18, we really started to experience a lot of rapid growth. We built a warehouse, my 20,000 square foot warehouse that year. And then 19 through now basically just kind of exploded. So.
Wow. Oh, what a powerful story of just, being in the trenches and figuring out how to dig yourself out of there and just coming back more powerful. And like you said, humility, it will really,
and I never take it for granted anymore. Like, I don't care how big of a sales day year I've had. I'm nothing above anyone else. I know how quickly things can change in ever evolving industry. And I know when you have something that's working, you need to capitalize on it as much as possible and always stay up on what's coming down the pipeline. And it 100% changed me as a person, just knowing that like it just keeps you humble for sure. And makes you want to continue to grow and be better.
Absolutely. And I feel like you shared so many like business lessons just right there. And my next question to you is really, what are a couple of your best business kind of practices that you've come to, maybe refine as you've built, this huge boutique business. You also, have, if y'all are, doing Benson Beef Company. I'm sure there's lots of other things you're doing that I'm not even aware of, and I would love for you to share those with us. But what are some of those business skills that you're able to transition and use no matter what it is you're working on?
Yeah, the number one thing I can promise you will help anyone succeed is action. I have learned that so many years. You just have to do it. Just start, whatever part of your business you want to try. At some point, you have to take action. You can listen to so many trainings and podcasts, but if you don't just try it and fail quickly and just learn from those experiences, you will never get to a place of success. And so we're very quick to react and try things in marketing and in anything. If something's not working, we'll try something else. We are never stuck to something long term. I believe this industry, any industry in the world of social media, just changes way too quickly, and you have to take action. There's so much content that needs to be put out into the world, and if you want to stay up with that, it's all about just taking action.
I remember you were the first boutique, first anything actually that I ever got text message marketing from. And I was like, what is this? This is like a game changer. Like, and I didn't even know that was a thing. And so you'll forever be that my first text message marketing person.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And I mean, something I really try and that I'm proud of as an individual is I try to not follow the crowd. And I've always kind of gone against the grain and done things that other people weren't doing. And I think it's part of being a creative. I love to try new things. And it's just kind of cool. We were one of, as far as I know, I had never seen anyone do it. One year when I went out to LA, I have a lot of manufacturers out there, and we had been doing live sales for a little while, and we were in one of our vendors' warehouses, and I said, I want to do a live here. He had no idea what I was even talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay, sure. And it took us like an hour to set up. I think he thought like, what are these girls doing? What's happening? And now this is probably something, if you're not in the retail boutique world, you're probably not aware of, but like you go to market, there's a live booth, there's a live stand in every booth almost. So it's
Wow.
crazy in like 2.5, 3 years, how much that has evolved. It's just, yeah, I think you have to be willing to just try things that other people aren't doing, and just sometimes they don't work out, and you just have to, well, okay, we tried, and move on to the next thing. The other thing I do want to say about, you'd asked for 2 pieces of like advice or whatever.
Yeah.
Is taking action and being authentic. I take that back. The only time I've ever probably not succeeded as much as we could have, and that has hindered our growth, is when we try to be someone else. I've seen some other big boutiques come in and thought, oh, I need to have my website look more like that. And every time we've gotten away from at the core of who we are and who I am, it doesn't work. So don't try to be someone you're not. Just do your own thing and try to be yourself and authentic.
Such great advice. And I want to dig a little deeper there, if you don't mind, because you show up so authentic on social media, and just, honestly, I'm like, gosh, I know this takes her a lot of work just to show up every day, the way that you do, and just sharing, whether it's with the boutique or your life, and your family with us, because you have to have your phone on you. And to your point, sometimes it'd just be nice to set it down for a week or so. But in today's society, I feel like a lot of people, they want to be authentic. They want to show up on social media just like they are, but there is a certain kind of fear factor behind, like, hey, is cancel culture going to cancel me and my business if I show up really and share my faith or things that are important to me? And that's part of why I enjoy following you, is because you just have a way of showing up and being yourself. But I don't feel like it's something that would, let's say, somebody that maybe doesn't know God, okay, that doesn't have a relationship with him. I feel like the way you show up, Laura, you share your faith and your story and your family all and your business just in such a beautiful way. So any encouragement you have for people that maybe are afraid to step out because it might hurt their business?
It is tricky having a business on social media nowadays. So number one, as a business owner, you need to have backups. I'm gonna break this into 2 parts. Number one, you need to have backups. Make sure you have a text list. Make sure you have an email list. Maybe there's other platforms that you can be on in case. I am a Christian, and I'm proud to present that on social media. And I don't know if someday Instagram will not allow that, and I will not be on Instagram if that's the case. Probably, I'm not gonna be defined by a social media channel. So that's something I've personally been working on, is trying to this year figure out, okay, what does that look like for me as a personal brand outside of my company?
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, I know who I am outside of social media, and I think if you can be grounded in that, then there's no reason that social media should be scary, because you're just sharing who you are. I think if you think of it differently, it can be very intimidating. And I know my faith, I know my relationships, my friendships. I have a very solid foundation in that. And so I think that's something I really would like to advise people, is to know who you are. What if Instagram does go away tomorrow? Are you okay as a person first? Business is separate. And I know they combine, because I also monetize Instagram. I'm not saying that, but business is separate versus, your personal. And so if you know who you are outside of Instagram, I think that helps to show up authentic. And I think it helps for you to be your true self. A couple years ago, was kind of getting to a point where I was ready to be done with Instagram. I hated it because I felt like I was trying to be somebody I wasn't. I had to like have makeup on in every picture and always be like showing things in the warehouse. Like, I very much fed into my head that I needed to keep up this image of what I thought people wanted to see. And I feel like I quit growing, and I hated it. It was like a chore. And once I kind of took a break, probably a solid like 6 months, where I hardly posted anything, and I didn't do stories. I wasn't even really on it. It was kind of during actually last year when COVID, we were all home in the summer. And there was something on my heart later that year that just kind of was like, Laura, you need to do this, but do it for me. Like, you have an audience, and you can share your faith, and you can share your positivity, and you can share your life as a way to serve God, and as a way to share his name. I would be nowhere without the Lord Jesus Christ. And I know that. And I think I had to kind of have a mind shift and say, this is the purpose of this platform for me. And as long as I have it, I will do good with it. And if it's gone, then I'm sure I will find another way to talk to people and interact with them, and whatever God's will is for me at that time.
It just lights me up hearing, just hearing stories like that, and how each and every one of us can use wherever we're at. Like you said, yours is in that way, on social media, how you chose to show up right there, and it can happen anywhere, and just how you're working for the Lord. And thank you for sharing that.
I think, look, I understand not everyone is a believer, but let me tell you, it just changes you, because everything in this world is so fleeting, and it does help you to remember. It keeps you so grounded in the fact that if it all goes away tomorrow, I still know who my Savior is, and I will still figure it out. It just humbles you, and it gets rid of the anxiety of life.
So refreshing, again, to just hear your outlook on that, and just see how you continue to show up and share all of that with us that get to follow you on social. I'm just putting it out there that we're going to get to meet one day in person, whether it's at market or somewhere along the way. Now, a while back, I thought it was so neat. I saw that you shared on Instagram that you were getting to teach your kids how to ride horses at the same place that you like grew up riding and everything. Just so extremely special to be able to do that with them, I'm sure. And how did all that come about?
Yeah. So again, everything I have is a blessing from God. Like, I'm not trying to sound all, fluffy or whatever. It's just, everything is a gift from him. And I feel like to whom much is given, much is expected. And so I never want to get to a complacent point in my personal life where it's just kind of easy. And so part of that is the making sure that what he has given us financially, I feel like we are doing beneficial things in many places. We have a lot of real estate investments, but for me last year, we were able to purchase, it's a boarding horse facility, where I actually put my first horse when I was learning to ride. And that was very instrumental for me when I was in high school and struggling with life. My horse was my therapy. And so it was kind of cool to be able to purchase this facility, and it's close to us, and just have the ability to start to be more involved over there and getting my kids more involved in it. So we have horses, we grew up with horses, but in the last few years, I have spent the majority of my life not riding, but building a business and other things. And so it's kind of been it forces me to shift and have to make time to do those things. And so that was kind of why it was an investment, but at the same time, it was something that for us was it was a time investment with my kids to say, look, And on our farm, our chores here are like, we get calves in the spring, but our chores here are, you get in a tractor and you go unload feed,
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up doing very physical work, and not that my kids need to, scoop gutters um, from, a cattle barn, but like, I want them to understand the gratitude and fulfillment you get from doing chores. And so they're a little young, but being able to, and start now, go over there and muck stalls and take care of animals, and just have that time with them where I'm teaching them. I'm really excited about that.
I can't think of a better way, whether it's, raising farm kids or ranch kids or however you want to say it, the cowboys and cowgirls of tomorrow. It's just like you said, there's something about getting your hands dirty and learning about work ethic at a really young age, and just taking care of animals. So I'm so excited for you guys and having, that location and that time with your kids and all the memories you're getting to make. And I have no doubt, the community, is grateful for your involvement with that too.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm really excited. Charlie's, I think she has 2 years before she can be in 4-H rodeo and stuff, but being able to possibly have practices over there and just, do more things where it's a giving back environment, and have the kids involved with that is another testament to, in my opinion, to, how can I use this to benefit his name and his glory in other ways, so
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we will have, it was kind of a weird season just having a baby, so we haven't been super active over there this summer. We've rode, but that's about it, but I know there's a time and a place for it. So I'm really excited, looking forward to that as well.
Absolutely. And on top of that, y'all have, Benson Beef Company. So at what stage are you with the beef company, and what can we expect to kind of see out of that in the future?
Yeah. So we are launched, we're shipping to all 48 lower states. We calve our own cows, and finish them. So it's the beef that we literally have on our property all the way from start to finish. And I'm really proud of that. And it's very different than fast fashion retail. But for me, growing up on a dairy farm, one of my dreams was always to, like, how cool would it be to be able to sell our milk directly to the person that lives down the road? Well, I'm not on the dairy farm anymore, but that dream always stuck with me. And as we, are into cattle, and you see the cattle markets fluctuate, and it's so hard to watch your husband and your family, like, man, we work a year and a half to raise that animal, and to not know, depending on what happens with corn prices, like what you're actually going to make and profit on that animal. And,
Mm-hmm.
And we do some contracting, but you still don't know for sure. And so seeing all of that, it's been really a blessing, be able to launch this business and be able to sell to the public. So bensonbeef.com, you can buy directly from our farm. We ship it out of here. We have it in our freezers, and we ship to the lower 48 states, goes on dry ice, goes overnight to your house. We are looking to bring on beef jerky in our next shipment. Right now, we just have steaks and burger. I wanted to keep it really simple, but we will be bringing some beef jerky in as well. So excited about that.
That's awesome. Well, I'll make sure and put that along with all of your other contact information in the show notes so people can connect with you, shop Benson Beef, shop Filly Flair. And then, Laura, I just really appreciate you taking the time today to visit with us, share parts of your story. And, I try to wrap up every episode just by asking each guest, what does the cowgirl state of mind mean to you? Because that's our goal here on this podcast, is just to encourage women from all walks of life to embrace that cowgirl state of mind. And I feel like, girl, you're killing it, whether you're at market in Atlanta, or you're at home and, mucking out stalls with the kids, or whatever in between. You have that cowgirl state of mind. So what does that really mean to you?
Thank you so much. Cowgirl state of mind is, anyone in agriculture or that has horses, you understand the work ethic that goes into it. So cowgirl state of mind to me is just being able to put your head down and happily go to work and give that glory to God, and stay humble.
Thank you so much, Laura. And I'm grateful for the time you spent with us today, and we'll be praying for you and your family and all the exciting things y'all have that you're working on for the future.
Thank you so much, Dakota. It was an honor to be on your show.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.